Welcome to Get Up GIU, where we gear up your mind and gear up your results. In today's video, we will be solving a grade 12 mathematics paper 2. So this is question 8 of Gauteng Junior Exam 2026. We are given a statement, a diagram, and we are asked to calculate with reasons the length of OC for 5 marks. So just keep that in mind. In the diagram below, O is the center of the circle and C is a point on the circumference of the circle. Chord AB is equal to 8 units, CQ is equal to 8 units as well, and passes through the center of the circle. OQ is equal to X units and CQ is perpendicular to AB. So let's have a close look on our diagram. So we've got a center O, right? Then they've also told us that C is a point on the circumference of the circle. We are given that AB is equal to 8 units. So AB is equal to 8 units. CQ is also equal to 8 units. So CQ is also equal to 8 units. And note that CQ passes through the center O. Then we are given that OQ is equal to X units. And finally, we are given that CQ is perpendicular to AB. So they've also indicated on our diagram that CQ is perpendicular to AB. So take note of that. So whenever you are dealing with a typical Euclidean geometry question like this one, always use this analogy. Always use Dr. Cape Town thrice centroids. So this is just to make things clearer and simpler for me, because this tells me that I should look out for a center. So centroids simply means center. I should also look out for triangles. Then my T here stands for tangents. My P is parallel lines. My C is cyclic quadrilaterals. So I'll just write quad in short. And my R is radius. And lastly, my D obviously is diameter. You wanna check if whether you are given a center. You are given a center O, you can go ahead and tick that you've got a center. Then the second thing that you wanna look out for is triangles. Can you see any triangles? So I can see there's one triangle over here. So there's this triangle I'm highlighting, and this is what we call a right angled triangle because of this 90-degree angle over here. So you can note that triangle, you can name it O, let's name it OAQ, is right angled. So for the fact that this is a right angled triangle, I can always apply my theorem of Pythagoras, which states that the square of the hypotenuse, so our hypotenuse in this case is OA, so the square of that is equal to the sum of the square of the two other sides, which are OQ and QA. So you've got OA squared is equal to OQ squared plus QA squared. The third thing that we want to look out for is tangents, then parallel lines, cyclic quadrilaterals, radius and diameter. Let's go ahead and look at our diagram. So we don't have any tangents, we don't have any parallel lines, we don't have any cyclic quadrilaterals. So if ever you are not sure, just reread your statement. Cross tangents, cross parallel lines, cross cyclic quad. Then you want to check if whether you've got a radius. So remember, a radius is a line from the center of the circle to a point on a circumference. So this OA is a radius, and also OC is a radius. So you can go ahead and note that we've got OC, then we've got OA. So this is our radii. So you've got two of those, and also don't forget to mark them on your sketch. So you've got this and this. And what else do we know about the radius of a circle? Is that the radius of the circle is equal. So that then means OC is equal to OA, reason being radii, right? Then lastly, you wanna look out for a diameter. Don't forget to tick your radius. So you wanna look out for diameter. In our diagram, we don't have any diameter, so we can go ahead and cross that one out. This basically simplifies to this. So you can write here key information that you've got center, that you've got a radius, or you can just say OA. Remember, OA and OC, and that OA is equal to OC. And what else have we got? We've got a right angled triangle. So we've got triangle O A Q, or however you can name it. And this is your right angled triangle, meaning that you can apply the theorem of Pythagoras. So having gathered all this key information, this then tells me that my reasons are gonna come from the center theorem. My reasons are gonna come from the fact that I've got a radius, and also the fact that I've got a right angle triangle where I can just apply my theorem of Pythagoras. So can you see how easy this question becomes? You can go ahead and tell me in the comment section which or rather what analogy are you familiar with, or what analogy do you use at school for dealing with this type of questions. But as for me, this is the analogy that I always use whenever I'm dealing with a typical Euclidean geometry question like this one. So we can go ahead and answer our question. So they say that calculate with reasons the length of OC. So where is OC? OC is right here. So OC is what again? Is my radius. So they're basically telling me that I should calculate the length of a radius. And also note that OC is also equal to OA. So let's just put a question mark here and the question mark here. So if we can find the length of OA, that then means we can know the value of OC, since these two are radii and they are equal. So if I can just get this OA, this length over here, then that would simply mean that OC is also equal to whatever value I will have gotten here. So let's go ahead and answer our question. Remember that we are looking for OC. Remember, this is a long question. It's worth 5 marks. So there's going to be a lot of calculations that have to be done to get to the final answer. I just want us to take a look again at our diagram. So right here we've got a 90-degree angle. And also I know that CQ is perpendicular to AB, and I know the length of AB, which is 8 units. We can always apply the theorem which states that a line from a center of a circle perpendicular to the chord bisects the chord. So if you've got a line that is drawn from the center of the circle, and that line is perpendicular to the chord, in this case AB, that means that line is a perpendicular bisector of this chord. So what do we mean by bisect? Is that it cuts the chord AB, in this case, into two equal lengths. CQ is perpendicular to AB. So that's given, right? Start off by saying AQ is equal to 4 units and BQ is equal to 4 units. Don't forget your reason being a line from center perpendicular to chord. Focus on this line for a moment. We can see that C, or let's say OC plus OQ makes up this line CQ. So OC plus OQ is equal to CQ. So note that we've got X right here. So we've got the fact that OQ is equal to X units. And also we've got 8 units. So remember that CQ is equal to 8 units. So let's go ahead and just substitute those values. So OC is our unknown plus OQ, which is X, is equal to CQ, which is 8. So you can isolate OC and leave it on the left hand side of our equation. So we've got OC is equal to 8 minus X. So in order for us to find the length of OC, we need to know the value of X, of which at the moment is unknown. OC plus OQ is equal to CQ. Remember, OC is our known plus our OQ, which is X, is equal to CQ, which is 8 units. So OC is equal to 8 minus X. 8 minus X. So remember that OC is equal to OA. So we can go ahead and put that in our diagram. So we've got 8 minus X here as well. So in triangle OAQ, note that OA is equal to 8 minus X, then OQ is equal to X, which is given unto us. Then this side AQ is equal to 4 units. So this is all our 3 sides of triangle OAQ. So you are going to say in triangle, remember it's triangle OAQ, you can say OA squared is equal to OQ squared plus 2A squared raising Pythagoras. So remember that OA is 8 minus X. So you just substitute that is equal to our OQ. Remember our OQ is X. So substitute X squared plus our QA or AQ is equal to 4 squared. So this you just have to expand is 8 minus X. It's like 8 minus X is equal to this, just X squared plus 16. So you apply your FOIL here. First terms, 8 times 8 is 64. Then 8, your first term times your last term in the second bracket is minus 8x then another minus 8x plus x squared is equal to x squared plus 16. So this simplifies to 16x is equal to 48. Then you divide through by 16. Then you get x is equal to 3. So now you've got our value for x, which is 3. So you can go ahead and just plug that into this. So that therefore means OC is equal to 8 minus 3, which is equal to 5 units. So there's our final answer.